Hi, this is Dana from the cooking studio, and today we're going to be making chocolate candies. So I'm going to run you guys through how to make that. There's a few things that you just need to keep in mind when you are dealing with chocolate. It's easy to use, but a few things can really cause it to go awry. So you never want to add water directly to your chocolate when you're heating it up. It'll cause it to seize, and then you'll have to start over. The other thing is you never want to heat up chocolate directly in a pan. You want to have a buffer zone, and we call that a water bath. So we're going to start first by heating up our chocolate. So you see I have a water bath here, I have some water in a pan, and I have a bowl that fits nicely into the pot. The bowl is not touching the water directly. And then I have the heat on medium, and you just want to make sure the flames aren't creeping over the side of your pan, because then it can hit the bowl, and that's almost direct heat hitting the chocolate. So just nice and low temperature. So other things that you want to have handy when you're starting to heat up your chocolate is a separate bowl, and I'll explain why later. And then you have a spatula and a thermometer. So right now what we are doing is we are tempering the chocolate, and we are making it stable. So when you make your candies, it has a nice texture, it has a nice shine to it. So what you do is, what we're doing right now, is we're heating the chocolate up to 105 degrees. That is why we have the thermometer, because you do want to be pretty accurate with that number. And I'm just starting to slowly mix it up, and you can see it's starting to melt. And I don't start taking the temperature of the chocolate until it is melted, because we know that it's not ready to go. So today I am using milk chocolate. You can use dark chocolate or white chocolate. And on your recipe, the different temperatures that you have to bring your final product to is indicated. I will just say, if you're going to use white chocolate, you are brave, because white chocolate is kind of difficult to work with. So you can see the chocolate's finally starting to melt. And then I'm holding this bowl, and now my hand's getting really hot. So it's good to have a towel handy. Then you can just kind of hold the side of the bowl. Just be careful not to get the towel into the flames. I've seen it before. I've done it before. Also with chocolate chips I find work great. It's nice because they're already cut for you into smaller pieces. You could use a chocolate bar, but you will have to cut it up into smaller pieces. And in your box you already have some really, really nice chocolate chips, so those are great to use. And you don't have to stir the entire time. You just want to make sure that you're rotating it every, 30 seconds or so, just to make sure the top is hitting the bottom of the bowl and things start to melt. So this is starting to look really good. The chocolate is nice and smooth. It's melting really nicely. You will be able to tell if your chocolate does seize up. It's really, really grainy, and it's not smooth, and unfortunately there's not much you can do if your chocolate gets to that point. You will just have to throw it away and start over. But if you have your chocolate in the double boiler, you're standing next to it, you're stirring it ever so often, it will be totally fine. All right. So now most of my chocolate is melted, so I am at the point where I kind of want to see where it's at temperature-wise. So I'm going to put the thermometer in and just kind of see where we're at. Again, we're shooting for 105 degrees. So I'm sitting at about 90 right now. So we'll just keep stirring. That is looking really nice. It's looking really shiny. We'll see where we're at. We are almost at 100. So you'll notice that I just checked it like 20-30 seconds ago, and it's at 100 now. So it goes pretty fast. So we are at 105. So what I'm going to do now is remove the chocolate from the heat. and I'm going to shut off my heat. So now we're going to temper. So we're going to bring the temperature back down. And what that requires is I have another mixing bowl here, is I'm just going to put 2/3 of this mixture, and you can eyeball it. It does not have to be perfect 100% exact. And I'm just going to leave it off to the side. And then this other third, I'm just going to leave over the mixing bowl, and we're going to come back over here. The 1/3 we're just going to leave over the double boiler so it stays warm, the heat is shut off. And then I like to transfer the other third into the mixing bowl because that way it's starting to cool down. And it's nice to use stainless steel. You don't want to use plastic or it's going to take a lot longer. Stainless steel transfers heat much quicker than plastic. So now we're going to stir. You're going to get a little workout in for your arm, which is good, right? And we're simply just going to bring this mixture in between 79 and 81 degrees. So it should go pretty fast if you have your stainless steel bowl and your bowl is cold. Room temperature, rather. So I'm just stirring. And then when I stir, I also find it's good to kind of spread it out so it's hitting as much of this the bowl as possible, as much surface area, because that'll cool it down a little bit faster. Not that you're like in a huge hurry to make these, but sometimes, you know, when you're doing a mundane task like this, you want to kind of get it over with. The sooner you get this done, the sooner you're eating chocolate, so we'll just say that. So I'm still sitting about 100 degrees. Okay. So now we are at our 81 degree mark. So then we're going to bring the temperature back up. Lots of things going on here. So that chocolate that we reserved that stayed nice and warm for us in our double boiler, you can see it's kind of, you can see the heat coming off of it. We're going to bring this mixture back up to 86 degrees. So how we're going to do that is we're going to temper, we're going to add this warm chocolate, the reserved 1/3, back into the chocolate that we just cooled down. Get every last drop. And then we're going to stir till the temperature comes back up to 86 degrees. So we'll see where we're at. Sometimes simply just adding that chocolate will bring you right back up right away. So you want to take the temperature as soon as you add it in. And we are there. So you want to add it into the molds right away because our chocolate is continuing to cool down, and it's a lot easier to add melted warm chocolate into the molds than cold chocolate. So I have the chocolate molds on a piece of parchment paper for a reason, and I'll tell you why in just a moment. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just go over and fill these, and know that chocolate is a messy process. You will find chocolate in places that you didn't realize that you got it. So just have fun with it. I'm surprised I don't have more all over me. I'm wearing white, so I took a huge risk doing that, but I'm doing pretty good. So over the molds, and if you get a bunch of excess, you can just push it in. And then you want to make sure the molds are filled all the way to the top. So it looks like I'm going to have enough for almost all of these. You can do some little small ones if you want. Those could be your little taste testers. So I almost got all the chocolate in. There we go. All right, so then what I'm going to do is take my spatula and just smooth the rest over. And I'm using the side of the spatula. Kind of has a sharper edge and it makes it a little bit cleaner. You want to get all that chocolate in there. And then I'm going to take the molds and just kind of slam them on the table. That fills in any indents or crevices in your mold so you don't have little air bubbles. And then the remaining chocolate, I'm just going to scrape off onto my parchment, because fun thing with tempered chocolate is you can let this cool down, store it in an airtight container, and you can do this whole process again and use the rest of your chocolate. So no waste. I always like that. So then the next thing I'm going to do is just put these in the fridge and let them set up. Okay, so now that our chocolates have been in the fridge for about 30 minutes, we are going to remove them from the silicone template. And it's nice because it's really easy. So my chocolate's nice and set up, and you can check by just kind of pulling down and you can see it's nice and hard. So I'm just going to literally push them out, just invert them. My chocolate candies will come out. All right, so let's look at these. So the reason why we temper chocolate is we want it to stay nice and shiny, have a nice shiny appearance, and you also want it to have a little bit of crunch but also a little forgiveness, so you're not just chewing into a really, really hard piece of candy. So that's the reason why we tempered it, why we brought it up to a certain temperature and down. You don't just want to melt the chocolate and add it in there, or your final product will not turn out how you want. So that's the reason why you want to go through this process. I'm going to show you how to wrap the candies and then put them in the decorative bag. So you don't have to wrap them though. You can leave them just as is, but if you want to take it a little step further, you'll just take your piece of foil and just cut it from end to end in a triangular way, just like that. You can use either side, so there's a silver and a gold. So to wrap your chocolates, you'll take it and just place the chocolate face down on your wrapper and just start to fold the edges up. Make sure to cover the entire piece of chocolate. And then you can just smooth the edges over. And just kind of press around because there's a little indentation, so you can kind of see that. And if there's any excess on the bottom, like I have a little flap there, just cut it right off. And then you can just place them in the bag, however many you want. And then you can also garnish it, adorn it with like ribbons, different things like that, different colors. One of my favorite things was when I would wrap presents as a kid, is I love to make those little curly cues. So you just take your scissors, and the non-shiny part, you just rest against the scissor, and you just kind of apply some pressure with your thumb, and just pull it. You've got those curly cues. You can add different colors in there too. It's really fun. All right, so chocolate is very sensitive to heat, like we already discussed. So you see I have a little bit on my hand, which is totally normal, which is the reason why when you're not using your chocolates, when you're not eating your chocolates or looking at them or whatever, you want to keep them in the refrigerator. You want to keep them nice and cold. So after you bag them up, and actually I would recommend you take the chocolates out of the molds. If you wrap them in the foil, put them back in the fridge, then bag them up so you don't get any chocolate on the bags. If you're leaving just raw chocolate that's unwrapped and you're planning on bagging them up, bag them up and immediately put them in the refrigerator till you're ready to distribute them or do whatever you are deciding to do with them. So make sure they stay cold. If you want to try these recipes at home, we have a kit that allows you to do so. Please click on the link below and it will lead you in the direction to purchase them. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you have fun cooking these.